Son scratches luxury car. Owner turns out to be my ex-boyfriend I haven't seen in 5 years. My son was zipping around in his toy car when he accidentally scratched a Maybach. The person who got out of the car was actually my ex-boyfriend. My mind short-circuited. And the words blurted out before I could stop them. This habit of scratching cars to vent anger is exactly the same as yours. You're blaming me. With driving skills this terrible, he's clearly carved from the same mold as you. The moment the words left my mouth, the man's bone-chilling iciness instantly vanished, replaced by a meaningful, dark smile. I froze on the spot, my brain blank. Is there still time to take that back? Just a few minutes ago, I had been sitting in the passenger seat of my 5-year-old toy car, swinging my legs in smug satisfaction, basking in the easy, leisurely joy of motherhood. Who could have predicted that the next second, disaster would strike from the sky? A long, glaring scratch marked the side of the multi-million-dollar Maybach, cutting deep through the paint job. No matter how you looked at it, the repair bill would be astronomical. I instantly felt dizzy, my limbs went weak, and only one thought remained: it's over. Completely over. This crappy toy car had no insurance, not a single cent would be reimbursed. My monthly salary was a mere 5,000 yuan. Living frugally day to day, just scraping by to support myself and my son. If I sold everything I owned, including myself, it wouldn't even cover the repair costs for this luxury vehicle. Mommy. The good boy beside me also sensed the shift in atmosphere. Realizing he had caused a catastrophe, his small body trembled slightly, his little hand clutching my sleeve tightly, his voice timid and filled with panic. I quickly leaned down, forcing a calm demeanor. I ruffled his little head, suppressing my inner turmoil, and whispered softly, "It's okay, don't be afraid. It's just a small thing. Mommy can handle it. You don't need to worry." Though my words sounded confident, inside I was a mess. Cold sweat already soaking my back. While I was forcing composure to soothe my son, the door of the luxury car slowly opened, and a tall, straight figure stepped out. The man wore a bespoke, high-end tailored suit that perfectly accentuated his superior V-shaped physique, broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist. His posture as straight as a pine tree, backlit by the sun. I couldn't make out his features clearly, but that innate, overwhelming sense of oppression and ice instantly enveloped me. I couldn't help but hold my breath, my chest tightening, finding it strangely hard to breathe. My mind was already calculating the worst-case scenario. I was prepared to grovel, cry poverty, and play the victim with my son, begging for a shred of sympathy to reduce the payout. The next second, a clear, cold voice, as frigid as ice and utterly devoid of warmth, sounded, piercing my heart with 3 simple words: pay up. Those 3 words, stripped of any excess emotion, instantly turned me to ice, a chill seeping from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. My heart sank to the bottom. Worse still, that voice was bone-deep familiar. It belonged to Zhang Zhuan, my ex-boyfriend whom I had ruthlessly dumped 5 years ago. My heart skipped a beat, and I panicked instantly, before my brain could process. My body reacted on instinct. I reached out, covering my son's face, and hugged him tightly to my chest. Don't let him recognize me. Don't let our eyes meet. If he recognizes me, I'm definitely finished. I was genuinely terrified. Zhang Zhuan was pedantic and vindictive, with a cold, stubborn, and obsessive personality. If he recognized me, given his temper, he absolutely wouldn't let me off easy. By then, with 300,000 in damages plus old scores settled anew, the latter half of my life would likely be spent as his indentured servant, completely at his mercy with no chance of redemption. I forced a calm expression, casually tossing my long hair back to deliberately cover most of my face. Lowering my voice, I deliberately squeezed out a hoarse, completely unfamiliar tone and cautiously addressed him this. "Sir, I am terribly sorry. The child was ignorant and caused trouble. Regarding the repair costs, how much do I need to pay? I will do my best to scrape it together. I swear, I was going all out with the vocal disguise. Even my own mother, hearing this voice in person, would never recognize it was me. I reasoned internally that Zhang Xuan came from a privileged background and was worth a fortune. He didn't need this petty cash. Besides, during our past relationship, he never cared about such trivial expenses, so he probably wouldn't deliberately make things difficult for an ordinary mom like me. But who could have predicted that the man's thin lips would part, spitting out words laced with bone minus chilling frost. Showing zero mercy, not much, 300,000. I was stunned on the spot, my pupils shaking. My mind was full of question marks, and my emotions boiled over. I couldn't help but shoot up from the toy car, abandoning my disguised voice entirely seriously. It's just a scratch on the trim, a little paint rubbed off. You want 300,000. You aren't repairing a car, you're blatantly extorting me. In my agitation, the horse disguise vanished instantly, and my voice reverted to its original clear tone. Zhang Xuan slowly lifted his eyes, his cold gaze landing squarely on my now minus uncovered face. There was no surprise in his eyes, only a knowing cold depth. He gave a faint curl of his lips, his tone carrying a hint of sarcastic mockery. What, dropping the act? Not going to keep talking in that pinched voice? I wilted instantly, all my momentum gone. Feeling guilty, I avoided his gaze and offered a weak excuse. Who was acting? My throat was just uncomfortable. It was temporarily hoarse. Just a coincidence. No sooner had the words left my mouth than I noticed his gaze drifting downward, settling on the son I held in my arms. I instinctively hugged the child tighter, my heart pounding with panic. I could be tough and stubborn, but I dared not let him scrutinize the child. Even if I never wanted to admit it, in this lifetime, the facts were laid bare before us. There was no denying it. The little guy in my arms had facial features, expressions, and even his temperament that were 100% identical to Zhang Xuan's, carved from the same mold. Who could have known that shortly after I broke up with him, I discovered an unexpected pregnancy? I gritted my teeth and gave birth alone, raising the child single-handedly for 5 full years. Zhang Xuan's gaze was heavy as he stared at the child for several seconds before his tone cooled slightly, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. Is this your son? My heart tightened, and I instinctively denied it, terrified he would overthink. No, he's not my son. Just a relative's kid I'm looking after temporarily. The moment I finished speaking, the good boy in my arms completely threw me under the bus. He lifted his streaked face from my embrace, looking at me with exaggerated seriousness, and declared in his milky voice, "Mommy, you taught me since I was little that lying is wrong. We can't tell fibs." I winced, feeling utterly helpless inside. Great. It's completely over now. This father and son duo weren't just identical in looks, their talent for pinning me down was also innate, spot on, every single time. I was embarrassed enough to doze with my toes. Desperately trying to salvage the situation, I scrambled to change the subject and dodge the sensitive topic. But Zhang Xuan ignored my flustered, embarrassed state. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath to suppress the churning emotions in his heart, and then spat out the icy words that hit the nail on the head. How old? My heart lurched. I instinctively wanted to lie about the child's age, saying he was 4 to create a gap with the breakup timeline. But before I could speak, my darling son eagerly raised his hand to answer, looking as earnest as a top student answering a teacher's question, his voice clear and loud. "Uncle, I'm already 5 years old this year. 5 whole years." I gave an awkward, light cough, forcing the topic back to the money cough. Age is trivial. Let's focus on discussing the compensation for the car. Zhang Xuan cut me off coldly. His gaze locked onto me with suppressed fury and accusation. 5 years? If I remember correctly, it was exactly 5 years ago that you initiated the breakup and walked away without a backward glance. Bai Lu, it seems I've really underestimated you. My throat constricted, and I couldn't utter a single word. Having no defense, back then our relationship was the talk of the campus. Later, I suddenly proposed a breakup and left without mercy, triggering a flurry of rumors that spread throughout the school. Some said I had latched onto a rich old man and ruthlessly kicked aside a poor boy. Others claimed my family arranged a suitable match and I was going back to get engaged. But the most common rumor was that I was a manipulative, heartless woman who had grown tired of Zhang Xuan and tossed him aside. Regardless of the version, Zhang Xuan was always the deep, sorrowful victim, drowning in the sympathy of others. Now, 5 years later, we meet again. And I have a 5-year-old son. The timing matches the breakup perfectly. I was truly innocent but couldn't clear my name. No amount of explanation would suffice. I could only brace myself and lower my stance to plead. 300,000 is too much. My monthly salary is only 5,000, and I have a child to raise. I can't come up with that kind of money right now. Can we negotiate a lower amount? I can work multiple jobs and pay you back slowly in installments. Internally, I calculated that 300,000 meant how many sleepless nights drawing, how many rush orders it'd have to take, how many years of scrimping and saving. Just thinking about it made my scalp tingle. Zhang Xuan gave a cold smile, his attitude resolute, showing not a hint of flexibility. No, not a cent less. 300,000. Full compensation. I bit my lip, tasting despair. Zhang Xuan was just as he used to be, cold, ruthless, and utterly inflexible. Back then, I had spent half a year working up the courage to chase him, confessing countless times, only to be rejected by him with a straight face and not a flutter of an eyelid. He was cruel and detached. Never accommodating me in the slightest. He stated to irrefutable reasons plainly. First, this is a brand minus new, top minus spec me buck. It was just registered and driven for the first time today. The paint is factory minus fresh with not a single scratch. Second, I parked legally in a designated spot. There was no violation. You actively crashed into me. Full liability rests with you. My lips trembled slightly, clinging to one last hope. I asked softly then, is your car insured? Can we go through insurance? I won't have to pay out of pocket. Haven't had time to buy insurance yet. Zhang Xuan replied flatly, his calm tone completely blocking off all my escape routes. Despair washed over me. He really wasn't leaving me a single way out. Refusing to give up, I muttered, it's just a shallow scratch. Polishing and waxing could fade it significantly. It's not even 1-10th as bad as the time I scratched your car. The moment those words left my mouth, the frost in Zhang Xuan's eyes deepened, his tone heavy as he struck at my weak spot. Indeed. No wonder it's your son. At such a young age, damaging a car to vent anger. The resemblance to you back then is uncanny. The core hasn't changed at all. I felt even more guilty, my scalp tingling, daring not to meet his gaze. Back then, during a fight, my youthful arrogance got the better of me. In a fit of pique, I stole his BMW, drove recklessly while emotional, and caused a collision. The entire side of the car was scratched and dented, the damage severe. Afterwards, terrified and overcome with guilt, I curled up inside the wrecked car, trembling uncontrollably. It was Zhang Xuan who found me in the middle of the night. Without a single word of blame, he simply bent down, pressed his forehead against mine, his voice gentle and helpless as he coaxed me, don't ever use the car to vent your anger again, okay? I care about the car, but I care about you more. Memories surged forth, scenes flashing vividly before my eyes. Staring at this familiar, handsome face once more, my brain short-minded circuited. My thoughts scattered, and I began spouting nonsense uncontrollably. Then how about this? I don't have the money to pay you back. How about I repay you with my body? The moment the words left my mouth, I turned to stone, wishing I could drill into the ground and disappear. What kind of crazy nonsense was I spouting? Zhang Xuan was clearly stunned for a moment, the icy chill in his eyes vanishing instantly, replaced by a deep, dark smile. He stepped closer, dominating and oppressive, reaching out to pinch my chin gently, forcing me to look up at him, his warm breath brushing my ear. Repay with your body. Fine. That, Bailu, the debt of affection you owe me from 5 years ago, plus today's repair fees, well, settle them together. Slowly. Repay me over a lifetime. My whole body stiffened, my heart beat completely out of control. The next second, the son beside me blinked his big eyes and raised his hand eagerly. Mommy, does this mean I have a daddy now? Me, there's no running from this now.